Is this all? Stop! I'm begging you!
Is this all you had? Look at you crying!
I stood when my name was called, one hand braced against the wooden bench, the other on my belly. The room watched me like a crack spreading across glass, quiet, expectant, waiting for the break. The clerk glanced at me. "State your name for the record." "Eleanor Hayes," I answered, surprised my voice didn't shake. Across the aisle, Lila Crane smiled as she'd already won. She wore white, not innocent white, but deliberate white, the kind chosen to look clean under fluorescent lights. She leaned toward her attorney and whispered something that made him smirk. The judge addressed me gently. "Sit, Mrs. Hayes." Lila didn't wait. "Your Honor," she cut in, her tone syrupy. "May I speak?" The judge raised a hand. In a moment, Lila's eye slid to me. "Hard not to notice," she said loudly, "how dramatic this is. Pregnant, claiming heartbreak. Very effective." A few murmurs rippled through the gallery. Shame flashed through me, heat climbing my neck as I fought to keep my composure. The judge warned, "Ms. Crane." "I'm sorry," Lila replied. "Not sorry at all. I just think honesty matters, especially when a woman uses a child as leverage." My lawyer shifted beside me. "Objection sustained," the judge said. "Ms. Crane, restrain yourself." Lila pressed her lips together, then said with a smile, "Of course. I forget how sensitive some people are." I stared straight ahead. Silence had kept me alive for months. Silence when my husband stopped coming home. Silence when the bank statements changed. Silence when Lila's name appeared where mine had been. The judge turned back to me. "Mrs. Hayes, you're requesting spousal support and contesting the asset transfer. On what grounds?" I swallowed. "Because my husband transferred marital assets under false pretenses." Lila laughed sharply. "False pretenses. He left because he was unhappy. People are allowed to choose happiness." My lawyer replied, "Not by emptying joint accounts." Lila leaned back, crossing her legs. "He built those accounts." I simply supported him when his wife couldn't. The word wife landed like a slap, anger and hurt twisting together inside me. The judge cautioned, "Careful." Lila shrugged. "I'm just telling the truth." I finally looked at her. "You're telling your version?" Her smile faltered, just a flicker, and for a heartbeat I saw uncertainty on her face. The judge studied me now. "Mrs. Hayes, when did you learn about the transfer?" "After he left," I said. "After I found out I was pregnant." Lila opened her mouth again. The courtroom door swung open behind us, cutting her off mid-breath. Everyone turned. A uniformed officer stepped in, murmuring to the bailiff, passing a folder. The judge's eyes narrowed as he skimmed the first page. Lila straightened, confusion flashing. My lawyer inhaled sharply. I didn't know what was in that folder, only that it had weight, and that for the first time that morning, Lila stopped smiling. The room held its breath, and somewhere inside me, fear shifted, unsettled. As if something long buried had suddenly stirred awake. The judge slowly closed the folder, as if the papers inside might slip away. Lila's lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, we haven't reviewed. You will," the judge said. In due time, Lila leaned forward. "Is there a problem?" "Not yet," the judge replied. That answer shook me more deeply than anger could. I looked at Lila, searching for her satisfaction, but saw only ambiguity. My gaze fixed on the seal above the bench. Breathe slowly. Stay present. The pressure in my chest knotted tighter by the second. "Mrs. Hayes," the judge said, "you testified that the transfers occurred after separation." "Yes." "And before any legal agreement." "Yes." Lila laughed softly. "Plenty of couples separate finances informally." "Informally," the judge echoed. "Sometimes," my lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we request that Exhibit C be entered." The judge nodded. "Proceed." A screen flickered to life. Numbers filled it. Dates, account names. I recognized the rhythm of our life in them. Grocery stores, utilities. Then suddenly, wires to entities I'd never heard of. Lila waved a dismissive hand. That proves nothing. It establishes a pattern, my lawyer said, and timing. The judge studied the screen. Ms. Crane, were you employed by Mr. Hayes's company during this period? Lila hesitated. A fraction of a second, I consulted. Paid. Yes. Through which entity? Her attorney shifted. Objection. Relevance. Overruled. Lila's jaw tightened. Through Crane Solutions, the judge looked back at the folder. Interesting. My stomach twisted. Something was shifting. I sensed a pattern forming that I couldn't quite name. The silence in the courtroom changed charge now, sharpened with unseen meaning. The judge wasn't buying time. He was orchestrating outcomes. Ominous. Hayes, he said, did you authorize any of these transfers? No. Did your husband inform you? No. Lila leaned toward the microphone. She didn't need to know. He was leaving. The judge's voice cooled. Marriage does not end at intention. A murmur rolled through the room. Lila scoffed. This is being dramatized because she's pregnant. I finally spoke. I'm here because I was erased. The room stilled. That's enough, the judge said, but his eyes remained on me. Ms. Crane, one more outburst and I will hold you in contempt. She smiled thinly, but her hands curled together in her lap. The judge tapped the folder. Before we continue, I have a question. It concerns the origin of these accounts. He paused. Who suggested they be created in the first place? My pulse hammered. Each second trailed uncertainty. The baby shifted a brief, grounding reminder that silence was a decision too. Every tick of the clock behind the bench accused us all. Lila's confidence flickered, calculation flickering across her face. The judge drew breath to repeat himself. And the courtroom door creaked, severing the tension as footsteps unexpected, certain crossed the floor. Power was already shifting, and everyone knew it. The footsteps belonged to a woman in a gray suit. Her hair was pinned tight, eyes sharp with purpose. She didn't look at Lila. She handed a document to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. No announcement, no explanation. Just paper changing hands. Lila laughed. Brittle. Is this a courtroom or a theater? The judge ignored her. He read. Once. Then again, slower. My lawyer leaned toward me. Do you know who that is? I shook my head. Court-appointed forensic accountant, he murmured. Requested yesterday. My breath caught. Yesterday, the words spun in my chest, a weight pressing down when I'd still been telling myself not to hope. The judge set the document beside the folder. Ms. Crane, he said, you stated you merely consulted. Yes, Lila replied quickly. I was paid fairly. According to this, he said, tapping the paper, you were paid through 3 shell entities, all registered within the same week. So, he continued, each entity traces back to an account funded by Mr. Hayes, an account created 6 months before separation. Lila's smile slipped. That proves nothing. It proves foresight, the judge said. Her attorney stood. Your Honor, intent is speculative. Not when patterns repeat, the judge replied. I watched Lila's fingers twist. She straightened, chin up. You think this changes the story? He loved me. He chose me. I spoke without planning to. He hid you. The words hung there, fragile and sharp. That's not true, she said. You were paid in pieces, I said. People don't hide what they're proud of. The judge raised a hand. Mrs. Hayes, thank you. Lila turned to me. Don't call this strength. You stayed silent while he built a life with me. I stayed alive, I said. There's a difference. A murmur swept the room, whispered, then subsided. The judge leaned back. Ms. Crane answered the question you avoided earlier. Who suggested the creation of these accounts? She glanced at her lawyer. He shook his head slightly. I don't recall, she said. The judge nodded once. That is unfortunate. He turned to the accountant. Ms. Alvarez, based on your preliminary review, what is your professional opinion? Alvarez stepped forward. The structure suggests intentional asset shielding. The timing aligns with the start of an extramarital relationship. Lila laughed too loudly. So now feelings are crimes. Deception can be, the judge said. He looked at me again. Mrs. Hayes, when did you first suspect your husband was planning to leave? After he asked me to sign papers I didn't understand, I said. He said they were routine. Lila inhaled sharply, her eyes wide with sudden realization. What papers? The judge asked. Amendments, I said, to operating agreements. The judge's eyes flicked to the folder. Then to Lila. Ms. Crane, he said, voice even. Were you present when those amendments were drafted? She stood. This is harassment. Sit. The judge ordered. She didn't. Her face flushed, anger strangling her composure as calculation faded. He wanted out. I helped him protect himself. The room froze, completely still. My lawyer exhaled slowly, the air sounding relieved but taut with unease. The judge leaned forward. From what? Lila opened her mouth, closed it. Her jaw tensed, and a flicker of fear darted across her eyes. Outside, thunder cracked, sudden and loud, rattling the windows. The sound sliced through the courtroom, sharp as consequence, leaving her answer hanging, unfinished as everyone waited for what she would admit next. The thunder faded, but the silence it left behind felt heavier. Lila finally sat, her movements stiff, eyes fixed forward as if defiance could still protect her. The judge waited, letting the moments stretch until discomfort did the work words could not. From what? He repeated. Lila swallowed. From instability, she said. From a marriage that was already over. The judge tilted his head. Yet the legal dissolution had not begun. That's technical. Law is technical, he replied. My lawyer rose again. Your Honor, may Mrs. Hayes clarify the circumstances surrounding those amendments? Proceed. I steadied myself. He brought them home late, I said. Said his attorney needed signatures quickly. I asked questions. He told me stress wasn't good for the baby. Lila looked down. He said trust was love, I continued. So I trusted him. The judge's jaw tightened. Lila laughed under her breath. You signed. That's consent. Consent without disclosure is meaningless, the judge said. Her lawyer leaned in urgently. Your Honor, we request a recess. Denied. The word landed like a gavel strike. Lila turned toward me, voice sharp. You could have fought then. You chose comfort. I met her eyes. I chose survival. Something flickered across her face. Not guilt. Calculation, recalibrating. The judge opened the folder again. Ms. Crane, these accounts were created using language from prior litigation you were involved in. That was a coincidence. Coincidence tends not to repeat, he said. You were named in a similar case 3 years ago. The gallery stirred. That case was dismissed, Lila snapped. Settled, the judge corrected. Quietly. Her attorney stood, panic breaking through polish. Your Honor, sit down, the judge said. Lila's breath came faster. You're painting me as some villain. No, the judge replied calmly. I'm examining patterns. He turned to me. Hayes, after you refused to sign additional documents, what happened? He stopped coming home, I said. Then the accounts changed. Then he left, and Ms. Crane's involvement. I didn't know then, I said. But I know now. Lila shook her head. This is punishment for loving the wrong man. I spoke softly. No, It's a consequence for helping him disappear. The words landed hard. Lila's composure cracked just enough to reveal fear beneath. The judge folded his hands. Ms. Crane, one final question before we proceed further. She stiffened. Did you advise Mr. Hayes to conceal assets before or after learning his wife was pregnant? The question cut the room open. Lila's mouth parted. Her lawyer reached for her arm. She pulled away. Outside, a siren wailed, distant but insistent, threading through the quiet like a warning. The judge watched her closely, waiting for the answer that would decide how much control she still had left. As the room held its breath for the truth she could no longer fully hide. Lila stared at the judge as if the question itself were an accusation she could outrun. Her lawyer whispered urgently, but she didn't look at him. She looked at me. The silence stretched until it pressed against my ribs. After, she said finally, I found out after. The word echoed, thin and fragile. After you learned Mrs. Hayes was pregnant, the judge clarified. Yes, Lila snapped. But that doesn't change anything. It changes intent, the judge replied. She laughed again, too sharply. Intent to protect assets is not a crime. Protection for whom? He asked. For him? For us. There was no us legally, the judge said. There was a marriage. Lila's jaw clenched. Paper doesn't equal love. No, I said quietly. But paper shows choices. The judge nodded once. Ms. Crane, records indicate you attended the obstetric appointment with Mr. Hayes 2 weeks after the transfer. Her head snapped toward him. That's impossible. The accountant stepped forward. Insurance logs confirmed to attendees. Lila's face drained of color. You knew, the judge said. You knew a child existed when you advised concealment. Her lawyer stood abruptly. Your Honor, we object to characterization. Overruled. Lila's voice shook now. He asked what would happen if she took everything. And you answered, the judge said. I said there were ways, she whispered. The room exhaled as one. My hands trembled. I folded them together, grounding myself. Silence had once been my armor. Now it was my witness. The judge leaned back. Mrs. Hayes, did your husband ever express concern for you or the child during this period? I thought of late nights, empty rooms, excuses that sounded rehearsed, only about liability. Lila flinched. He asked how courts calculate support. I continued. He asked if pregnancy changed percentages. The judge's expression hardened. That is sufficient, he said. Lila shook her head wildly. You're turning this into a morality play. No, the judge said. I'm turning it into a record. He looked down at the folder, then at the accountant. Ms. Alvarez, prepare a full audit and notify the district attorney's office. Lila stood. You can't. The bailiff stepped closer. The judge raised his voice for the first time. Sit down. She did, breathing hard, mascara smudging at the corners of her eyes. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, this court recognizes the imbalance of power exercised against you. My chest tightened. This hearing will adjourn for 10 minutes, he continued. When we return, we will address restitution and potential referral. The gavel lifted. Lila leaned toward me, voice low and venomous. You think this makes you strong? I met her gaze. No, it makes me done. The gavel struck. As people stood and voices rose, Lila stayed seated, staring at the table as if it had betrayed her. I remained still, feeling something unfamiliar settle into place. Not victory, not relief, control. And as the doors opened and the courtroom shifted, I knew the hardest part hadn't ended yet. Recess fractured the room into whispers and movement. My lawyer guided me to a bench near the wall, his voice low, steady. Don't engage, he said. Let the record speak. I nodded, staring at the floor as Lila's heels clicked past. Fast, uneven. She stopped inches from me. "You planned this," she hissed. "I survived it," I said. Her laugh faltered. "Enjoy the performance. Judges love tears." "I didn't cry," I replied. That landed. She turned away sharply. The hallway smelled like disinfectant and rain. Through tall windows, clouds pressed low, threatening more thunder. I rested my hands on my belly, counting breaths. Each one felt earned. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A man spoke carefully. "Mrs. Hayes. This is Martin Cole. I represent your husband." My lawyer's head snapped up. "I'm listening," I said. "We're prepared to discuss settlement," Cole continued. "Immediately." I closed my eyes. Delayed truth had weight. Based on what? "New exposure," he said. "We believe discretion benefits everyone." My lawyer took the phone. "All communication goes through counsel." Cole agreed too quickly. The line went dead. Across the hall, Lila argued with her attorney, hands slicing the air. She looked smaller now, corners frayed. When she noticed me watching, she froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. Calculation returned, thinner. The bailiff called time. People drifted back inside. As we re-entered, the judge was already seated, reading. He didn't look up until everyone settled. "We will resume," he said.
Ms.
Crane remained seated. Lila obeyed. The judge addressed my lawyer. "Any updates during recess?" "Yes," my lawyer said. Opposing counsel requested settlement discussions. The judge nodded. Noted. He turned to Lila. "Ms. Crane, you will listen carefully." Her chin lifted. "This court is considering contempt for prior conduct," he said. "Additionally, the referral I mentioned may expand." "On what grounds?" she asked, brittle. "On cooperation," he replied. She glanced at me, eyes sharp. "You want blood." I shook my head. "I want my name back." The judge tapped his pen. "Before I rule further, I have received supplemental information." He lifted a sealed envelope. "It concerns communications you believed deleted," he said. Lila stood halfway, then sat. The judge broke the seal. "Emails," he said. "Drafts." "Advice." The room leaned forward. He began to read aloud, then stopped, eyes narrowing. "Ms. Crane," he said quietly. "Did you write, if she miscarries, exposure drops?" A sound tore from Lila's throat, half denial, half terror. "Answer the question," the judge said. The clock clicked loudly on the wall. I felt the baby move, sudden and strong, as if insisting on being counted while the truth hovered, unbearable, waiting to be spoken. Everyone waited. No one breathed. The judge's gaze never left her face, and in that held moment, I understood something simple and final. Silence had protected them before, but now silence was a confession, and it was breaking her apart in public at last. Without allies, excuses, or escape from consequences today. Lila's lips trembled. That email was taken out of context. The judge didn't blink. Context rarely softens cruelty. Her lawyer stood, voice cracking. "Your Honor, we object to sit," the judge said. Now, the word flattened the room. Shoulders sagged, faces paled. A collective breath held. Lila swallowed hard. I was angry. He was panicking. People say things. People reveal things, especially when they think no one hears. I felt something inside me loosen. My breath caught, an old knot in my chest unraveling. Not satisfaction. Release. Hayes, you've endured repeated attempts to diminish your credibility. Yes. Did any of them succeed? I thought of sleepless nights, of doubting my own memory. I thought of apologizing for asking questions. Only when I believed silence was safer than truth. He nodded. That belief ends today. Lila broke down. You're ruining my life for a mistake. I spoke before the judge could. A mistake is accidental. You planned. Her eyes burned into mine. You think you're better than me? I think I stopped pretending I wasn't worth protecting. The line rippled through the gallery. The judge folded his hands. Ms. Crane, based on the evidence, this court finds credible intent to defraud and obstruct marital rights. Lila shook her head violently. You can't do this. I can, he said. He turned to the clerk. Prepare an order, freezing the identified accounts effective immediately. The clerk nodded. Lila's lawyer slumped back into his chair. The judge continued, additionally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for further review. A sob escaped Lila. Sharp and jagged and desperate, but not in mercy. Rye, Mrs. Hayes, restitution proceedings will follow. You are entitled to transparency and protection. My chest tightened again, this time with steadiness. My hands stopped shaking as I drew an even breath. Lila fixed on me, voice hoarse. You won't win. He'll hate you. I answered calmly. He already chose who to be. The judge lifted the gavel. Court is adjourned, pending further action. The sound echoed, final and heavy. People stood. Cameras flashed. The gallery buzzed with hushed excitement. Lila remained seated, hands shaking. She stared straight ahead as if the room had moved without her. My lawyer leaned in. You did well. I nodded, standing slowly. My knees nearly buckled, so I steadied myself and took a careful breath, holding myself upright. As we turned toward the exit, a voice called out behind us. Mrs. Hayes. I stopped. The judge looked at me, expression unreadable. One more matter must be addressed before you leave. My heart jumped, thudding so loudly I was sure others could hear it. He glanced on my heart, banged painfully against my ribs. Cumant, one that hadn't been discussed yet, concerns your husband's testimony. The room quieted again, tension thickening the air as people exchanged nervous glances. He has just arrived, the judge said. The doors behind the bench opened. Footsteps echoed into the courtroom, cutting through the moment like a blade. Every head turned. The man who had started all of this finally stepped inside. He looked smaller than I remembered, not defeated. Reduced. My husband stood near the doorway, hands clasped, eyes darting toward Lila and then away. He didn't look at me until the judge spoke his name. Step forward, he obeyed. The judge didn't waste time. You've heard the findings thus far. Yes, he said quietly. Do you dispute them? His mouth opened, then closed. No. Lila surged to her feet. You can't just abandon me. He flinched. I already did. The silence that followed held new weta raw. Final honesty settled over the room. The judge addressed him. You will submit to a full financial audit. Failure to comply will result in immediate sanctions. He nodded. I understand. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, do you wish to address the court? I stood slowly, nerves tight under the room's expectant watchfulness. I spent a long time thinking strength meant endurance, I said, wanting the court to understand the cost I believed was necessary. I thought staying quiet kept the peace because I was afraid of the alternative. My husband lowered his head. But silence didn't protect me, I continued. It protected them. The judge listened without interruption. I'm not asking for pity, I said, voice steady now. I'm asking for fairness. For my child to grow up knowing that truth matters more than comfort. Lila let out a broken laugh. You're enjoying this? I met her gaze, steady. No, I'm choosing myself. The line settled into the room, quiet and irreversible. The judge nodded once. This court orders immediate restitution of all concealed assets, retroactive support, and ongoing oversight. He looked at my husband. You will comply. Yes, he whispered. The judge turned back to Lila. Ms. Crane, you are dismissed pending further legal action. The bailiff stepped forward. She didn't resist. As she passed me, she stopped. She muttered, "This won't make you happy." I answered softly, "Happiness isn't the goal. Self-respect is." She walked away without another word. The courtroom began to empty. My lawyer squeezed my shoulder. "It's over." I shook my head gently. "It's begun." Outside, the rain had stopped. Light broke through the clouds, pale but real. I stood on the courthouse steps, breathing air that felt earned. My phone buzzed again. This time, I ignored it. I placed a hand on my belly, comforted by a sudden sense of peace. "We're okay," I whispered. Justice wasn't loud or kind. It was deliberate, earned. As I walked away, I understood something I would carry forward without apology. Cruelty needs an audience. I chose strength for myself today, not for the world's approval, but because I had to.